All right, we are a minute past the hour. Let's get kicked off. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're really grateful you decided to spend an hour here with us at Moonnox. We're here to talk about the secret weapon for delivery leaders and how our platform helps you in the entire delivery motion. We'll start with some quick introductions and then we'll go ahead and get into it. David, will you kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is David Cotton. I'm the co-founder and CTO here. I am a career system integration consultant. And the reason why I started Moonnox was to help fix the problems that go along with running a delivery team. So this topic is really close and near and dear to my heart. I'll kick it over to Melody.
All right, thanks, David. Hi, everyone. Melody Bentler. I'm our Chief Services Officer here at Moonnox, and I too have been a consultant for almost the entirety of my career. Um, the experiences we'll talk through today are all things that I've lived firsthand, which is what makes me so passionate about Moonnox and what it can do. Sar, go ahead.
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Sar Kalev. I'm a director of product development here at Moonnox. Prior to Moonnox, I also was a technology consultant in the Salesforce space for over 10 years. All this to say is that I share your joys and your pains in technology consulting.
Well put, well put. All right. We are here to talk about this. We're solving for this delivery leader workflow. Each of these stages, these milestones, these touch points you see on this slide, they currently involve manual work, context loss, hours that you'd rather be spending on strategic conversations with your clients. So, yes, today we're putting this all in the perspective and the persona of delivery leadership. And we'll touch on really impacts your entire customer facing business. So, we'll explore this through a story with Falkor Consulting, kind of a made up consulting firm that we'll use as an example today. And we will showcase a series of Moonnox agents that live on top of a set of modules, which we have on the next slide. Our modules are really the underlying foundation of the Moonnox platform, and we'll get to see all these things in action. First, I'll start by telling you a little more about Falkor Consulting. Falkor is a boutique consultancy. They have about 100 consultants that all implement Salesforce. They're both onshore and offshore. So they're big enough for these enterprise customers, also small enough so that each of their clients really get this white glove treatment and get to work with the senior partner. One of their sales teams just closed a significant Service Cloud and Agentforce implementation with a brand new logo called Big Corporation. So even before a deal is signed, we as delivery leaders, we start thinking about staffing. And staffing is really one of those necessary evils in consulting, right? I I might not even, as a delivery leader, be the operations person that does the grind of staffing, but I'm involved in it. The number of Slack messages, the calls, the touch points, the logistical gymnastics of forecast accuracy and skills and project end dates and start dates, it's enough to make your head spin. So Falkor, again, 100-person company, they've got consultants onshore and offshore, and they need to know who can take on this project based on their skills and availability. So with Moonnox, our staffing agent is designed for exactly that. It supports delivery by amplifying this operational layer and makes the entire organization run smoother. And it looks like faster, richer candidate discovery, an accurate organizational memory of consultant experience, streamlined resourcing workflows, and just quicker onboarding of the right consultants to the right projects. Sar, show us how it works.
Yep. So I'm in Moonnox. I opened up my staffing agent. I brought into the staffing agent all the context that the organization knows about Big Corp. And I'm going to ask the agent who would be a good fit for the Service Cloud and Agent Force Solution Architect role on the Big Corp project starting January 5th for 8 weeks. Okay. The type of insight I'm looking for is who on my team has the skills, the certification, the relevant project experience, the resume credibility, and the forecast availability for the requested period. The type of data sources that we've equipped this agent with are skill matrix that so happen to be stored in Salesforce. Past project experience out of our PSA system, we use Certinia. Interview notes for candidates who were brought on board recently in the last year or two. Forecast also coming out of our PSA. And we have a folder in Google Drive with all of our team members' resume. Okay, so that is what the agent is looking at. And you can see that it surfaced 5 potential candidates, including Sarah and Marcus. We can see that Marcus has the right skill set, again, coming out of our Salesforce skill matrix. It has relevant, he has relevant certifications, and he built hundreds of hours holding a similar role on other projects. And also importantly, he is pretty available, 78% forecast availability starting in January 1st for those 8 weeks for the project. And there's also some interesting tidbits about coming out of his resume and in interview, right? His perspective. He talked about his perspective about Agent Force, that's a Salesforce product, in his interview.
And what I love about this too, Sar, is like one of the things we're seeing with some of our clients that are taking advantage of this is they're able to embed some of their corporate objectives into the logic flow that this agent is following. So if you want to factor in customer location or certain initiatives around certain skill sets or training, we've seen customers embed that into this agent. So it's not just being a list of who's available, but really a thought partner, not just for the staffing team, but even for the sales and delivery teams to give them visibility earlier in that cycle than having to always go through the staffing team. And then the staffing team is able to really be that, kind of strategic advisor on who the right people actually are.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we all know this pain. We're going through this sales cycle. We're getting towards the end of it, thinking of who's available. You get handed a signed SOW and are expected to be an expert immediately on this client. And maybe some of your delivery team did participate in the sales cycle. Probably not everybody. And you want to get there on day one and just knock their socks off. And with Moonnox, that handoff no longer breaks the momentum that you've built. So when the deal closes, the delivery team inherits all that context that the sales team has. We know what the client values, what was promised, who the key stakeholders are. You don't run into that conversation where the customer asks you, why are we talking about this with you? We already talked about this with the sales team. Your delivery team starts informed, which drives stronger delivery outcomes and can mean fewer billing misses. So SAR's got it ready to show.
Cool. So yeah, Melody, I mean, the one of the managing directors here at Falkor just closed a great deal with Big Corp. I wasn't part of that sales cycle, so I don't know what kind of trouble he got us into, trouble in quotes, of course. And so I'd like to understand a little bit more about the conversation we've had with this client so far. So, dear agent, share what you know about the Big Corp deal so far. Okay, the type of insight I'm looking for is who are the people, right? Who are the people we're going to work with? What are their roles? What are their personality quirks, right? What are their preferences? I want to have a better understanding of the deliverables and the scope. I want to know the timeline. I want to know the budget, how many hours we have, and I want to know what next steps we need to take to really start this project on the right foot. In terms of data sources, we're having this agent point at the call transcript of all the pre-sales discovery meetings, as well as the actual proposal presentations, and it's also looking at the SOW. Okay, so the agent is sharing some good information about the people we're going to be working with: Jennifer Martinez, David Kim, Sarah Chen. Their role, their style, their preferences, right? Some insight about how to best collaborate with these people. There's detail around the deliverables and the scope, the timeline that we committed to, the budget that we have to work with, and again, some next steps and action items to kick us off in the right way. And it's looking like we need to start getting ready for that kickoff call on January 15th.
Amazing.
And this is remembered throughout the whole project, right? So it's setting up not only for that handover, but for the entire life cycle of this engagement. Any agent that you're engaging with on this project is going to have all of that sales context, which just and we'll talk about it, but how it can help control scope, how it can help manage executive alignment. That's all available from day one.
Yep. And I want to surface a question that came up through chat. So the results from the prompt, are the topics always the same, or can I change them?
So in this case, we structure the agent in such a way that it answers certain questions that come often, when you're looking to do a handoff, and when you're looking to staff a project, or when you're looking for a status report. But you can also just ask any question you like of these agents, because it has all the context, right? So you can ask free-form questions. In this case, we actually structured the agents to answer certain typical questions. So to increase the likelihood, you're going to get high quality answers for those 5, 6, 7 typical questions.
And I think what I might say in a slightly different way too, Sarah, is like you're able to embed your methodology in this. So if you have, if your firm does, sales to delivery handoffs in a certain way, you can embed that method into this agent. So it's looking for that checklist of 5 or 10 things that you always do when you hand off a cycle. That's completely configurable. Or you could just take it how we have it out of the box.
Awesome.
Good.
All right. So we've kicked off. We're going through our firm's unique methodology. And hey, I mean, we're here to implement Service Cloud and Agentforce. So we've been gathering requirements, my architects asking technical questions. At this point, we have whiteboards, we have email threads back and forth, we have a whole bunch of documentation and a lot of things to do. So we need to create this design document. And the value in the solution architect role is really their understanding of the platform and our client's business strategy and being able to tie those two together. That's the strength of a solution architect, not just documenting things. So our solution design agent isn't going to replace the SA, but it will save them hours or even days to document their design. And what we hear from our customers is that it means their solution architects get to spend their hours billing by having strategic conversations with their customers, not sitting at their computer typing away documentation. They're strategizing for the future instead. Sar, go ahead and show us.
Awesome. So again, I've pulled up our solution and design agent. I'm pointing it at the big corp context. I'm going to ask it to create at least the first good draft of the design doc for our Service Cloud and Agentforce solution. What I would like to see in that document is a description of the current state. I would like the agent to create user stories, describe the data schema, put together a list of automations, as well as integrations and the integration approach. I'd like to see a security matrix, as well as assumptions for the scope and out of scope items. And if I can get a good document, to Melody's point, instead of having to spend 3 days putting this document together, I just have to review what the agent put together for me and um, make any necessary tweaks from there. In terms of data sources, what we have are the discovery calls. Okay. In this case, it's a Salesforce agent. So we pointed it at the Salesforce knowledge base, the entire Salesforce knowledge base with all of their help pages. We're also pointing it at Salesforce Ben, right, for some great articles around the latest and greatest in the Salesforce space. And we are also feeding it a few great examples of design doc that our team Falkor put together for other clients. Okay, so I got my executive summary, I got my expected business outcome, current state assessment, future state user stories, etc.
And that's what we talk about when we talk about compounding intelligence. This agent is learning from all of the prior work that our firm has done. And then the work that we're doing on this implementation project is then going to feed the next 5 and 10 projects. So when we talk about compounding, the more you're able to start and the sooner you're able to start, the better these responses are going to be over time, because it's not just synthesizing data from the public internet, it's synthesizing all of the prior requirements gathering meetings, all of the prior solutions, and it will just get smarter and smarter the more it learns from how your firm operates.
Hmm. We had a question come through the chat about what are the inputs the solution and design agent uses to create this?
Yeah, in this case, it's all the discovery calls, right? It could be a couple of weeks worth of requirement gathering. We are ingesting the entire Salesforce knowledge base, right? So if you happen to be in the Salesforce space, you know that Salesforce has thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of help pages. So it's ingesting that. It's ingesting the Salesforce Ben website, as well as to Dave's point, a few great examples of previous design docs, great examples of design docs we've put together for other clients in the past.
Thank you.
And that could also, and other places that could include, if based on your firm, that could also include things that are on Google Drive. It can include your Jira or Confluence space. It can include your Asana or Monday.com. There's a lot of different places where we can get that context to feed in, because we assume that
Right.
you already have that historical data. It's now a matter of how do you synthesize and get insight out of that.
That's right.
Hmm.
And this is not Salesforce specific. We uploaded certain context for this agent because that's the example. But if you're an Anaplan consultant or if you're a Zoho consultant, we know that all of these technology firms have their own knowledge bases, and we can easily bring those instead.
Hmm. I want to add Slack and Teams as well. So we integrate to Slack and Teams. And we got another question. How do you ensure all client conversations, like meetings, internal meetings, are recorded and uploaded into Moonnox?
What a great question. Moonnox has a wonderful, top-notch call recording capability technology called Copilot. Okay, that once synced with your calendar will automatically join and capture both your internal and external conversations. And it can recognize the people that are on the call. And if these are client calls, right, let's say you're working with Athena Health. And there's Athena Health folks on the call. It will recognize that and it'll automatically bring that call recording and all of its context into your Moonnox Athena project.
Nice, thank you. The only thing I'll add to that, Sar, is that we have an entire security permissioning model. So those calls are only accessible by the right people and the right agents.
That's right.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you for asking your questions. Keep them coming. You heard from our introductions that myself, David, and Sar, we have 10, 15 plus years as SI consultants. And I'm sure many of you on the line are in a similar boat. So I would love to ask, who likes being blindsided by a customer issue? We've probably all been there. So, as a delivery leader, that blindsiding that happens, whether we want to or not, it's our worst nightmare, right? There's these watermelon projects that look green on the outside, the status reports are green, but you scratch below the surface and it's bright red. And by the time you do that, when you realize it's bright red, we're already in crisis mode. And SAR can show you how we catch those things early now.
Awesome. So in this case, I'm going to open Moonnox Project IQ. Okay. We set up a project, a Moonnox project for each of our actual real life project implementations. And I'm going to open up the Big Corp project. So this project view is, I think of it as the nerve system for the delivery of our project with Big Corp. This is where, to that previous answer, to that previous question, all of those internal and external calls flow into. Okay, all of those call recordings and transcripts flow into that project. This is where our Jira board context flows into. This is where our Google Drive folder that's dedicated to Big Corp is coming into. This is where the SOW is coming into, right? So we're building that team intelligence, right, around Big Corp. And from that team intelligence, I'm going to engage by using Ask Moonnox with our PM agent. Okay. And I'm going to ask it, how's the project going? Okay. I may not be, super involved in the day-to-day of the delivery because I'm a delivery director and I oversee a portfolio of projects. But to Melody's point, I want to get ahead of the curve. I want to know if there's any sort of risks that are popping up. And so when I ask this agent for a project update, I'm looking for an executive summary. I want to understand at a bird's view, like what's going on. Completed tasks since the last update, incomplete tasks since the last update, general project health, how are we tracking in terms of budget, right? Contracted versus actual, and next steps. Okay, so I got my update. It looks like the project is in the development and configuration phase, and there is a critical blocker that I did not know about regarding a couple of actually blockers regarding the Agentforce API integration and another one around client UAT access. Okay, so let's dive deeper into that by looking in the RAID log. Okay, looking at out of scope requests that popped up since the last update. These might be useful when we start thinking about a renewal or phase two. Completed and incompleted tasks since the last update. Project health score, red. Okay, the client has expressed frustration with delayed Agentforce testing. Okay, so need to address that. Budget summary, we're tracking all right to our contracted hours. And key next steps, including the actions we need to take to turn this project green again. Okay, first thing on my list is to have a conversation with big CIO and surface up those UAT access issues and try to figure out a way around them.
And what I love about this too is, and sorry, you had it on the other screen, this agent is running in the background as well. So it's proactively flagging here that there's an issue, and we can see that this problem started a couple days ago and it's just gotten worse. So I'm able as a delivery leader to come in here and I know I can smell that something's up, and then I can dive in really deep because the system is proactively flagging that to me.
Mm-hmm. And I'll also add just for color, we've lived this, right? Like it happens sometimes. And that summary that SAR showed when he asked, "Hey, what's going on with big corporation?" That doesn't mean that the team isn't going to swarm around this and come together and strategize on how to make this right with the customer, what, these steps that need to happen and how they'll be executed. But what it does is it helps to accelerate that. And maybe you're the project manager, the engagement manager, the delivery leader. Instead of compiling all of these things together for somebody else to read or to bring a leader or executive in, we have this right here. We can get on the same page so much quicker. And again, get to that strategy, get to that real, like human action quickly and with the right information because we have all of this context. So it really just catapults that ability to get in front of your customers, show your unique, your secret sauce as a firm to get back to green, to make it right, because you have all of that context just really at your fingertips. All
Awesome.
right. So we're going through, we've mitigated our red issue. We've designed the solution. We are approaching the finish line of this phase one with big corporation. And as a delivery leader, I'm already looking at that cliff. I know there's a date when my SOW ends, and I want to secure that phase two. So I need to be able to convince this client that we're not just here for the beginning, we're a strategic partner to continue on. And often preparing for that conversation, what's next? It's a lot of time that we might not have. And it's scrubbing JIRA backlogs for items that we didn't get to, or the nice to haves, things that might have been moonshots, reading Salesforce release notes to understand what's coming with this Service Cloud and Agentforce implementation. And we got you. With Moonnox, we have our innovation ideas agent.
Awesome. So I am going to ask this agent, what new innovation idea can we work on next with the big corporation? To Melody's point, right? Often, I think this is most of the cases, right? You're working on a project, and the client mentioned this requirement or this possibility or this backlog item, and no one has the mental capacity to capture all those ideas because we're so focused on delivering whatever we're supposed to deliver on time and on budget, right? But with Moonnox, right, in the background, capturing all of those conversations, capturing those little tidbits of, oh, the client mentioned this idea 2 months ago, right? We can go back and put together, right, a good list of innovation ideas that will help us secure a renewal or a phase two. Um, the data sources that we're looking into it in this case are those calls, right? Call transcripts where business priorities, ideas were mentioned. Jira, where we perhaps documented some backlog items that we didn't get to. Uh, this agent is also looking at just the worldwide internet for industry news, right? So big is an insurance company, right? So it's also looking for technology trends in insurance, right? To give us some ideas. And it's also looking at Salesforce knowledge such as release notes. Okay. And you can see that it surfaced up a couple of big ideas like unified customer health intelligent engine using Data Cloud. That's another Salesforce product. Or building an automated digital onboarding hub using another Salesforce product called the Experience Cloud. And then a couple of quick wins, ideas, creating a dead-end analysis dashboard or building in-app reminders, proactive nudges. So a good list, right, of big, medium, small items that I can bring into a planning session with a client and start thinking about what else we can do for them in the next phase.
There's always so much context that, if you, especially if you have a great relationship with a client, you're working with them for a long time, there's always more ideas that can ever realistically be done. To have the ideas from here and every other project is just such a powerful thing. Your all of your client interactions become now a data source that you can use to not only deliver better, but to deliver more to your existing customers, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yep. And again, I think of this too. It's that It's that framework that sets you up to facilitate this workshop and just knock it out of the park. Like it's kind of that first step that gives you the ability to strategize, to approach your customer this way, to bring the team on board, and just really lock in that next phase. So I'm going to wrap us up in the next minute or so, and then we'll open it up for questions. So really, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We've spent the last 30 minutes or so looking at Falkor Consulting, but really what we've been talking about is the reality you face every day. As delivery leaders, we're constantly fighting against that staffing friction that turns resource allocation into logistical gymnastics. The lost momentum when assigned SOW can turn into a cold start, the waste of time or the grind that comes from documentation instead of driving innovation. Those watermelon projects, green on the outside, red on the inside, destroys trust and margins. And that struggle of selling phase two when you're knee deep in phase one. And they're really systemic vulnerabilities that can bleed your organization of time, talent, and profit. And it's the symptom of not having a real unified collective intelligence. And that's exactly what Moonnox does. Um, we accelerate momentum. Staffing isn't a scramble, it's more of a strategic conversation across delivery leaders or practice leads and their ops team. Watermelon projects are a thing of the past. We use solution architects as an example. Whomever it is on your team, architects are free to architect. Um, and that next phase is a data-backed strategy, and it's their backlog applied against the cutting edge of the market. So Moonox is that central intelligence layer. It connects the dots between sales, operations, and delivery and helps to predict shifts before they start to impact the bottom line. And we're here because we strongly believe the firms of tomorrow, they're not the ones with the smartest, they don't only have the smartest people on their teams, but they have the most intelligent systems that maximize collective intelligence. And that's what we got to see today. All right. I have a few questions that have been popping in. All right. So, queuing you up, David and Sar. I'm just going to read this. So, with the Doc Assist status report generation, what happens when your PSA data and JIRA data are telling conflicting stories? Like the burn rate looks fine, but velocity is tanking. Does Moonox surface that contradiction, or do I need to catch it myself in the review?
Great question. Do you want to take that, Sarah, or do you want me to?
Sure. I would say that it depends how you're prompting your agent. How I would prompt my agent is to surface both of those perspective on the project, so that you can recognize that conflict and reconcile it. If you don't ask it to do that, it might make its own judgment call, right? So this is where the art of setting up these agents comes into play. If you anticipate those types of conflicts, you're just going to want to ask the agent to surface the different data sources, and then sure, it can come up with a judgment call, but you also want to be able to make that.
Well said.
Cool.
All right. Okay. Next question. I saw the PMO agent in there. What is the difference between that agent and the project manager?
So a PMO agent, and it really depends on the person who's building the agent's definition. But the way that I look at it is that a PM agent is for a specific project, and PMO agent is more of a leadership agent to be able to take a look from a leadership standpoint at multiple projects, and maybe not as deep as a uh, analysis on every single project, but more of a, you know, surfacing up information that's helpful for a delivery leader to understand how they can, where they need to jump in and help.
Where I think about it is one is there to really help the team. They're gonna, it's an expert in writing user stories or giving, writing status reports, helping the team deliver. And then one is there more around as a enforcement of your company's methodology. It's looking at the calls that are happening. It's looking at the documents that are coming in, and it's generating a health score for that project to help avoid the watermelon syndrome. You could theoretically combine those into one. We have it as two because we view them as kind of like, just like if you would think about it in your organization, you're going to have people delivering on the project and they're focused on keeping that project on the rails. And then you've got somebody who's leading that team and overseeing the delivery across many projects. And they're responsible for making sure that, we're looking out not only for the client's best interests, but our firm's interests as well.
All right, thank you. And um, Joe, let me know if that answers your question, because I'm curious if you wanted to get deeper into the role of the project manager. But let me know. We've got time. Okay, I'm going to go to our next question, and we have quite a few coming in. So, moving on to the next one. You referenced that Call Pilot catches things like budget concerns. But what if the client is being polite or indirect? Like they keep saying, we need to be thoughtful about timing instead of explicitly saying, we're running out of budget. How good is the sentiment analysis at reading between the lines?
It's good. I'm not going to say it's perfect, um, but there is nuance in your customer interactions. I'll give one real example. We had a customer where they were delivering a project and they were going into the go live phase of the project, and there were a lot of people on the project team that had PTO coming up. And the client was politely saying things on meetings that they were concerned about the amount of PTO that was happening right during the go live. And nobody wanted to actually escalate that problem to their manager because they didn't want somebody to tell them they couldn't take their time off. So you're just this natural conflict. But the agent picked it up and it escalated the problem, and the delivery director was able to come in and figured out a way to make everybody's PTO work and also help the customer through their concern. So like that's an example of something where it's picking up on the nuance, but it's also flagging that before it's Friday at 6 p.m. and somebody's calling because there's nobody to staff on Monday morning. Now you're calling people on Saturday morning trying to figure out who can work during their PTO. So that's a real world example where it's done that.
Nice. All right. Is there some type of roll-up report for delivery leads to see all of our projects at a high level and only dive into the details where needed?
You want to take it, Sar?
That is that PMO agent. That's where it takes a look at multiple projects and able to surface up that higher level um, insight into those projects.
And you can set up your project hierarchy. So you can have projects flowing into other projects. So if I'm a delivery director, we have 100 active projects, I'm responsible for 10. I can actually have that project context flow into my portfolio. So I'm able to see across that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Can Moonnox be used for an internal DevOps team or department?
100%, yes. We use it like crazy for our own internal product development. So I see no reason why. And it is great at picking up the requirements that we're talking about as we build our internal product. It is great at finding those blockers.
Release notes.
It writes our release notes for us. Yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If I can add to that, yes, today all of our examples were about delivery leaders and customer facing, We have customers who use it for their internal calls. Because again, that call pilot function that we talked about, the ability to have all of that context embedded and chat and interact with it. Even a simple example, so simple, but yesterday SAR and I were talking and we were trying to remember somebody's name who built a report for us. We could not think of this person's name. And we just went into that project, asked Moonnox, who's the person that built these reports, blah, blah, blah. Boom, had the name. So using it for your internal function works really well. And you just continue to have that context. So for your DevOps team, you can work in Moonnox. There's those connectors that we mentioned earlier, and just building up that organizational context and memory in any way works seamlessly. All right, I have at least two more questions. So, based on the use cases you showed, what's one surprising or game-changing thing you learned from letting AI agents handle sales to delivery handoffs or automatically surfacing new innovation ideas for clients?
I'll give, I don't know, sorry if you have an example. I'll give one and then maybe you give another one. Um, maybe not exactly what's being asked, but I think it's pretty close. So one of the things that we have, I'll give two examples. We have a customer who's they're looking because we're able to see all of the project context. They're looking across projects and they're looking at things like what are the early indicators that I can look at for when a project's going red? Like what are the things that are happening on meetings 2 weeks before the project actually goes red that we can use to stop, like identify that before it becomes actually a red problem and like learning from that. The other one that I've seen is being able to mine all of that project context to really understand what are people actually doing and saying while delivering in the real world versus what people are saying, and that's there's a difference there, right? Like there's where we're actually headed as a firm and what our messaging is to the market, but what is our actual point of view as a company on topic X? And so I can use that to either train people, bring that in front of clients, write blog posts about it, because now I've got this data set of the real learnings of what's happening on my projects in a way that I didn't have before. I don't know, sorry if you've seen other cool examples.
The innovation idea specifically, we got really a lot of excitement from two clients I can think of that have a managed service practice. One is Zoho company and another one is Salesforce company based in Australia that are using a very similar agent to the one I demoed to you to build a backlog and a roadmap for again the next phase, the next quarter, the next month, the next especially in managed service, you're always looking for what else can I do for the client? What else can I do for the client? First of all, to add value, B to justify, the renewal. And so these types of agents are very helpful to come up with ideas to present to the client. And these ideas are hours and money. That's what they are. Value, hours and money.
Well put.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what the question says. This just happened to me. A client had a change in leadership mid-project. New VP comes in who hasn't been in any of the recorded calls and starts asking for things we explicitly descoped with the previous stakeholder. How would Moonnox help me navigate that situation?
I mean, pull out the summary of all the conversation, pull up a 2-page executive summary of all the conversation we've had. Ask Moonnox to highlight the items that were decided upon are out of scope and jump on a friendly call with that executive.
And there's citations too. So
Right.
it's not it isn't only here's a citation. It's this is exactly when we discussed it and who was there.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times it'll even give when it answers the specific quotes that were happening in the meeting. It's like, it was at this timestamp where it got discussed. It's crazy sometimes.
Hmm. Yep. Oh, okay, one more came in. Our team has built solving some of these use cases with N8N. What value does Moonnox provide more? Also, how long does it take to onboard?
You want to take that one, sir?
I'm not familiar with NA8. So could we get the person to share a little bit about it? Do you know
Well, I can answer it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
okay.
answer it. Yeah, yeah. So I think the major difference of building on a horizontal agent platform versus a platform like Moonnox is twofold. One, like there's nothing to say that some of the things that you saw here today you couldn't build in a silo. It's the interconnectivity between these different modules that is really where we think that there is a lot of value in leveraging a tool like ours because we're explicitly focused on the professional services space and being able to seamlessly share context from meetings and documents to across projects with a security model on top of that is pretty unique, we think. And then I think the other thing is there's a full roadmap behind this. So, if you go and build on top of an agent building platform, you could get something that works, but your innovation path is only going to be as good as you're able to put time into that and as you have those ideas. We've got the collective feedback and learning from all of our entire customer base to innovate for these specific professional services, specific problems. And then as far as onboarding, Melody, actually, Melody, if you want to take that part of the question.
Yes, happy to. So the way that we onboard our customers is we get started right away on day one, building your organizational memory. So Call Pilot is set up right away. And again, that's that agent that goes into your calls, is associated and tagged with projects and is contextual. We have transcript recording, summaries, insights, can interact with questions. That's right away. Within the first week, we have that project IQ. So now we can start to see what are our specific projects, what's that hierarchy that we've talked about before, and start to get these overarching themes built in around our business. Second week, we start to automate with Doc Assist. And that could be something like a status report, for example, if we're thinking about delivery in the first so then we're kind of looking at like 30, 60, 90-day time frames. We have all of our baseline agents. We saw these in an earlier slide, our Call Pilot, our Project IQ, our Doc Assist, our Cosmo agent. All of that is just foundational to our model, where then we'll build in what we call our level two agents. And that could be something like a knowledge base agent, a deeper PMO agent. We go through the entire sales to delivery lifecycle. Within the first 90 days, you not only have our foundation, you have up to three level two agents in full flight. So you've gone through your change curve and you're on within 90 days. Um, and there's another question. Where do you think customers will see the highest ROI within the first 90 days?
I think you should take that one, Melody.
All right, I sure can. We see that customers experience the highest ROI first in this efficiency layer. So we kind of look at this in a series of gates. I like to call it my, wildly revolutionary methodology called crawl, walk, run. You might have heard of it, everyone on the call. So first, the real unlock is in these efficiency and also just like experience and sentiment metrics on the process of going through these things that are such a grind in the beginning. So the efficiency unlock happens very, very quickly. And that's kind of that first stage of ROI. The next stage, again, it depends if we're kind of looking at if we're going through uh, sales or delivery or operations where we might see visibility, we might see accuracy, like we could go in kind of different directions here. But if we take the PMO perspective, for example, if we start seeing more visibility into our projects, we have more frequent updates, we have clarity on our health status, that helps to drive accuracy. Accuracy starts to build in between kind of that 30 to 90 day mark where we know our projects are meeting our methodology. We might have some sort of PMO checklist that we can track against. And we start to see that alignment of our project status, if that's green, our project health in terms of maybe some back end things like billing or invoicing, and what we're hearing from the customer. Does that sentiment match up across this pyramid? So that answers your question to the 90-day mark, but it continues way past that because, again, with this PMO example, we have better visibility. We know we have better accuracy in understanding our projects. Then we can better understand risk. If we can better mitigate and understand our risk, we can reduce the number of risks we have. We can reduce the days that it takes to action against them. And that can translate into financial impacts. So our customers that we've had now for about a year, they're really starting to uptick. It's not just efficiency and sentiment that they're experiencing now, but that accuracy and visibility can start to drive these financial impacts in their business.
I'd also say, there's probably something happening in your firm that keeps you up at night. And I could list off all of them, but it might be you want to run more sales cycles, or it might be a red project issue, or it might be a staffing problem. Like there's something there. I think looking at what that first meaty problem is that is causing a lot of pull your hair out moments is something that we can glom onto and really dig into and deliver value right away. If we look at just kind of like general efficiency stuff, like for sure there's value there, but like I think we've seen a lot of impact from like picking that like meaty problem and diving in against it. I don't know if you agree or disagree, Melody, but
Definitely. Absolutely. Yep. Um, all right. I think that's our last question. I'll call out a comment we have. As a project program manager for many years, I sure could have used Moonnox at every SF partner I have worked for. Yep, that's why we're here.
Hey, Cindy,
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
And agreed, Cindy. Yes, I know. We've been there, right? So thank you all for joining us today. If you happen to be at Agent Force World Tour in Chicago on Tuesday, I'll be there. Would love to see you. And if not, you can always book a demo or just schedule a chat with us. You can find us on the website. All right, I think that's everything. Thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of your day.